Hey guys, welcome back. Um, you're not gonna see me moving my hands too much, I think, because it's pretty cold, so I'm gonna keep them in my pocket. But there are a few topics we're gonna discuss today. Let's start first with the Saturn, Moon, Sun trifecta. We discussed this a little bit before, but I want to sort of add on to it because I was talking to a friend and some more things kind of started connecting for me. So I'd like to share some of what I you know think may be logical connections here. So during the day, obviously the sun is out, right? And we even can feel recharged by the sun, right? The sun's rays are directly feeding our bodies. Yeah, more than likely we are indirectly recharged through the process of photosynthesis, in which we eat the sun's light, right? The sun's energy is transformed into plants. Plants are then consumed by animals, and we eat usually a combination of these, sometimes just the plants, the fruits, right? Um, or sometimes even just the animals. But essentially, we are consuming light, right? Everything here is a transformation of the light found here. Now, throughout the day, we also use this energy, right? We're moving, we have to get the food to begin with. So there is a consumption and a production of energy for us, a sort of duality that occurs. Mainly, though, the consumption is happening during the day, right? And then what do we do at night? We recharge, right? Just like this phone that I'm recording this video on. You plug it in at night, and it recharges. Now, if we sleep, if you don't sleep, if you go so many days without sleep, you actually die. And if you don't recharge your phone before the energy runs out, it also dies. We say the phone is dead. But during the night, mainly we undergo a sleep process, which again, why do we need to do this? Why do we create a system where we have to sleep half our lives, basically? Right? So we're recharging, but not during necessarily a full moon. That process, or the latter half of the moon stage, that process is in a sort hindered because we may not really get a full night's sleep. We may not feel fully recharged sometimes at night. Now you may wonder, why is this? Well, the moon is also very parasitic in nature, similar to the sun in my opinion, but that's also everything. All the planets are acting like the directors of this play, in my opinion. So the moon is also taking energy at night. It's feeding upon the energy we've gathered throughout the day. It's a harvester. Everything we do here is sort of food for the moon. Our money is given to it. Our money is run in a sort of a currency, right? The currency, it's liquid, it has cash flow. We have banks, like river banks. In a sense, all of our work and energy is given towards the moon. And that third part comes in Saturn, which the moon I feel to be an extension of Saturn. Even the sun, also an extension of Saturn, because the sun is the son of El, son of Saturn, Israel, right? And our energy is being drained when the moon enters your sun sign, and a chemical process happens in which, if you have not spilled your seed, the moon starts to cause a secretion. Yeah, although if you have spilled your seed, more than likely what's happening is this consuming part of that essence, which was stuck somewhere down the line. It wasn't alchemized, alchemically transformed. So the moon is sort of a mini Saturn. The moon also tracks time, just like the sun. Saturn is the main component of time, in my opinion, though, right? It's the 666. That's what everything is based off. But the moon runs also in cycles, or sickles, run by the major guy, the guy with the sickle, right? The reaper. Is also a component, a smaller component in harvesting, right? So it's kind of more of a quicker harvester than the larger harvester that exists, which we'll get to in a second, Saturn. So the moon running in periods of 28 days says, okay, you've planted your seeds, which is what farming entails. You plant your seeds under a new moon. You've planted your seeds in this new moon. Now the fruits of your labor have come, and it's time for me to take at the end of the month, right? That's why we pay bills at the end of the month, more than likely, right? You've worked so hard throughout the month, you have some gathering, some accumulation of wealth. Now it's time to pay taxes, or it's time to pay bills, it's time to pay expenses, it's time to pay for everything that you've given, right? And now, again, the system we have in place is alluding to that process as well, because when you make money, first you're taxed on your income. When you go to spend the money that's left over after the taxes have been taken out, you're taxed again on the purchase. Then when you own that object, for example, property, you're taxed again for owning it. Therefore, you never actually own it to begin with, because if you do not pay that tax, it will be taken away, right? So that system is very much parasitic in and of itself. Now, obviously, that's not a natural system created by this place, essentially. It was supposedly created by humans, right? But I think it's reflective of what is happening on the larger scale of, the archons or planets that are in place. Oh, you've accumulated some energy along the way from the sun, because we have to sort of give you an incentive, a push, right? Oh, and then we take it a little bit down the line, right? And then at the end of the longer cycle, which what are cycles? They're just groups of time together, like groups of circles. They almost look like links, like chain links, or maybe even a rope. And what is time itself? When you break it down, it's time-y with that chain, with that rope of time. You're stuck in this loop of cycles, smaller cycles building into larger cycles, into bigger cycles, into a huge cycle, until it resets and the Ouroboros goes out and then comes back in and resets. And now that's run by Saturn, the harvester, the reaper itself. And that's why likely we are sent back to Earth. Oh, you have a mission. You're not complete. You're not finished. You need to grow. Well, what else grows? Food. Food starts out as a seed, and then it grows. We feed our turkeys, make them plump, so that we can eat them at Thanksgiving. The plump one, though, not the small ones, right? So the larger harvest, and even the Bible, Jesus says to separate the wheat from the chaff. I'm not sure if truly is Jesus that says that, although that can be definitely attributed to a more spiritual metaphor, where yes, those of the Father, those that truly want to return to the source, are separated from those that want to stay and be chaff, let's say, right? But you can't eat chaff. You eat the wheat, right? Usually. So the harvester comes with his sickle, gets all the worthy, plump beings to be eaten, and then Saturn eats his children, right? Kronos eats his children. Even though Jupiter seems to be the one in charge now, the one that overtook Kronos. Jupiter is in charge of the matrix, kind of like the analyst overtook the architect. The analyst was much more on emotional manipulation, whereas the architect was very focused on logic and numbers. So what happens during these times, I think, is that it's prepared for like the larger harvest, whereas the smaller harvests are continuously eaten by the moon. That's why Gurdjieff said we are essentially food for the moon. Everything we do is being consumed, right? All of our emotions, all of our frustrations, all of our things we've held on to in our bodies, if they're not transmuted, if they're not let go of, they are then consumed by the moon. Well, at least parts of it seems. I don't know, because emotions do seem to be stuck in the body for long periods of time as well. Now, there are some people that are not as affected by the moon because of the matrix numerology, the matrix components in place. For example, those with numerology specific towards the moon, right? The 2s or 11s, the 4s and the 7s. Now, luckily for me, I have the 4 and the 7 energy, so I don't seem to be as affected by it. But things like wet dreams can still happen at night, where essentially it's this moon energy, which is associated with that Lilith, but also Isis energy, right? The same being, in my opinion, same entity, which comes in and takes your life force, your energy, in through a dream. Uh, uh, and then is used to essentially recreate astral beings, potentially, or then inseminate other females on Earth, which is a very weird thing that happens. But they're essentially trying to create their own soulless entities, onwards and onwards and onwards. But usually people with these energies, which are attributed to the moon, are not as affected, may even feel energized during full moons, but it is not prescribed to them to make good decisions during those full moons. They won't be acting necessarily rationally, right? So that's why I recommend learning these types of things. That's why I made my course on this stuff, because it's good to have an awareness of the system, understand what's happening, so that you can be more prepared for it. If you want to check that out, it's only like $300. I put like 6 plus hours of material. All of my research, everything I know about it is in there. It's in the Etsy link. You'll find one guy that left a comment. He's pretty obnoxious. He's like, "Oh, you scammed me because you told me you didn't, or you had a teacher, but you didn't." But I did have a teacher. I don't know if you expected to see my teacher in the video or what, but all the information is there. It's well structured. It's good video quality, and you should be able to roll through it, because I feel like it's pretty well explained too. Everything I know, everything I learned from my teacher, and stuff on top of that is in there. So if you want to check it out, check it out. I'll leave a link, whatever, doesn't matter. You do you. But in my opinion, it's worthy of knowing your own limitations as a personality, right? And what are your subscribed to, what your script is pushing you towards, so that you can say, okay, I'm aware that I'm pushed this way. Can I be more centered? Can I be more in my spirit, allowing my higher self to come through, the true source to come through, so that this aspect of my script doesn't necessarily get fulfilled. I don't like this aspect, right? Maybe I was coerced into this. Maybe it's not something I truly want anymore, and I'm going to negate it, right? Because I think we can do that. I think we don't have to fulfill specific roles if we transcend them, right? If my script says I'm gonna go punch that guy because I have anger issues, well, I'm gonna become more aware of my anger issues and say, no, I'm not going to punch that guy because I don't need to do that, right? And then a whole side story doesn't happen necessarily, right? So moving on from that, the year of 2024, numerologically speaking, is equal to 8. So you may notice more people getting into the hard working idea, that you need to work hard, right? That you need to be disciplined. Maybe you may want to invest in real estate, law. All of these components are going to come into play. Everything that Saturn is associated with. And the whole elders concept is likely to grow more on people again, that we have to learn our lessons. We have to just put our head down and work. And it's a more submissive mindset. Whereas you saw a lot of people kind of becoming very open to the matrix idea in 2023, because 2023 is equal to 7. 7 is philosophical. 7 is the way the matrix is even structured. So people became more aware of its structure. They started diving a little deeper, studying more, researching more. Whereas a lot of people are moving away from that now and are becoming more practical, more work-oriented, more physically minded, more, if it's research-oriented, it's got to be logical and factual, whereas the 7 is more conceptual, right? So these are patterns that you need to be aware of, because your own ideas and beliefs may start shifting. And if you feel yourself being pulled towards something that you think, oh, well, I don't know if I truly agree with that, but let me entertain it, just be aware. It's obviously, we keep an open mind. We don't know anything for sure on this channel, but I've noticed more and more things kind of trying to pull me away from this concept, even though it still holds true to me. I haven't seen anything really that breaks down the deceptiveness that happens in the astrals and on the physical plane, especially, where we can't explain things like rape, torture, aliens, DTs, reptilians, whatever, interdimensional beings that are already here, likely abducting people and using them for DNA research or torture or sexual promiscuity. These don't seem to fit in with the whole life lesson agenda, right? And it doesn't explain why these beings with the whole life lesson agenda are deceptively masking themselves to begin with and parading themselves as close relatives, as religious figures, as whatever makes you feel comfortable, just so that you'll walk with them into their reincarnation machine, likely the light process, in which puts you through this life review. And some people report shame, some people don't report whatever guilt and all that, but essentially they tell you you can't stay, that you have a special mission, that they never tell you this mission. And even I'm reading this book about NDE's very insightful and unbiased research, in my opinion, that this guy's been doing, and I'm just reading through all the cases and reading, and I'm finding things that are like, okay, this is very sketchy. But a lot of them do report hearing this authoritative voice. No, you must go back, because some of them do challenge them, like, no. Or actually, I think a lot of them challenge and say they want to stay, but they still give in. It's like the choice is there, but they feel like they have no choice. So it's kind of like not knowing your rights in a law situation where you go to court, or you're dealing with some sort of lawyer, and they're putting all this pressure on you, and you think that you have to subside, that you have to succumb to the pressure, because you don't know your rights. You don't know any better. You don't know that they can't do that, and what they're doing is coercion. And if you don't make a case, the judge is swayed and the court is swayed, and you have to pay a fine or whatever, right? And you lost the case, you lost your sovereignty, you didn't know your rights, you were acting actually within their system, which automatically takes away your rights. Because when you go to court, you're acting under your straw man. You're acting under a false being, a false system. And the moment you enter and you say, yes, I agree to play your game, you've already lost, essentially. Unless you can make a good enough argument to beat them at their own game. But I don't recommend arguing these beings about, oh, my life was actually good, this and that, look at all these things I did, because you're not going to win that battle. It's a false system to begin with, that you have to be this great being and help millions of people, otherwise you're not good enough. Your spirit is good enough. You are inherently good enough. You're inherently worthy. The process is the unification that happens within, where you're not fighting battles between yourself and outside of yourself, in terms of masculine versus feminine, black versus white, good versus evil. Okay, so this whole idea of learning lessons just does not fit, and that we create our reality. Yes, I do believe at some level we create, at some level we have a huge choice in what happens. But for me to take accountability for the whole system that's already here in place, using me as a worker, the whole place is designed in a Saturnian-like fashion. All you have to do is just look around. Everyone's working 9 to 5, 8 hours a day. Everyone has to follow the rules. They have to pay taxes. They have to go to school. Go to school, why? To learn lessons. But what do those lessons help them do? It helps them become workers for the system, to keep the system going. The school doesn't teach you spiritual lessons when you go to the physical school. It doesn't teach you how to become financially free. It doesn't teach you how to own your own business. It doesn't teach you how to, grow your own food, or get rid of all the pesticides in your food, or heal yourself. It doesn't teach you these things. You have to go and learn those things by yourself. So if we can take that level, right, the physical level of school, and we move it up to the next level where these beings are acting deceptively. Okay, you need me to go back to Earth. Why? Well, you have to learn lessons. It's your mission. Okay, so I go back, learn these lessons, and who am I actually helping? Well, actually, you're helping us, but they're not going to tell you that, because you keep going back, you keep producing energy, you keep making the world go around with your desires and your nonsense that you think you're doing, all the actions that you think you're doing, and oh, actually it's creating this fluctuation of up and down movement, electromagnetic, that is creating this energy, and you're powering everything. So yes, thank you for learning these lessons. So of course, when you look at a murder case or a criminal case or whatever, you look for intent, you look for motive. So what is these beings' motive? What are they motivated by? You can say, oh no, they're working for the creator. They were put there because they were such good beings. But what gave them that rank? What gave them that even it wouldn't be a hierarchy, right? What makes them so special, makes them so wise? Because they weren't here on Earth. They didn't go through the process. What gave them the whole ribbon of echelon of the level of their echelon, right? Seems like they were just put there to begin with. Kind of like, that's why the idea of the demiurgic system makes a lot of sense, because there's a CEO, and there's the supervisors, and there's you, the worker. So get back to work, essentially. But you're saying, but wait, that supervisor, I never saw him do what I'm doing. Kind of seems like he just knew the big guy up top, and yeah, man, I'll hire you. Just fill this role, or he created him to begin with, right? So that's why I compare this whole system to a corporation. It's the same. Everything parallels, as above, so below. Now the question is, how far up does the system go? How far up does that corporation entail? Is it just the physical reality, like the Gnostics believe? It was only the physical reality. It was only that was evil. Is it just the astrals, where a bunch of stuff happens that we don't really know about? There's demons, there's angels, there's a whole lot of deception going on. Or is it more? How far? We've heard of the idea of false heavens, false nirvanas, right? So I think, since Saturn is tied to time, right, the component of time is intertwined with the Saturnian being, which is likely not Yahweh, since Yahweh, I've discovered, is actually tied to Jesus and Jupiter. Not Jesus, but the name Jesus. Jehovah, Jeshua, Yeshua, all that is Yahweh, which is tied to Zeus, tied to Jupiter, the new ruler, potentially, of whatever this place is, that overtook his father, right? And it makes sense that he's in the Bible, right? Which is very interesting that Christians worship this being Yahweh, when Yahweh clearly said, no, it's the Jews I like. Oh, and by the way, the Jews actually killed the guy that you guys worship, which is the Christ. And the Christ said, no, actually, Yahweh is not my father. So Christians continue to be stuck in this circular reasoning that they're like, yeah, whatever, it's Yahweh. Okay. But I always thought, like, okay, well, if Yahweh can't be the demiurge, because it seems to be this lesser being, actually. And the demiurge or architect is playing both sides. It's not just evil, it's also playing the goodness evil, if that makes sense. All right, let me see if I can remember where I was going with this. Yeah, so the idea of time being tied to Saturn, or yeah, the ruler of time, essentially. Wherever that CEO is, the architect is, that layer and below it is likely the matrix. Maybe a little even higher where Sophia resides, potentially above this being, with some sort of nirvanas in between and a void or something like that. that's my current mapping of the system. I know it's not intricate, but that's what I've contemplated on. And Sophia being sort of not quite in the black hole, but not quite in the true source realms, and then above Sophia, the true source realms potentially. But everything tied to time, which according to science is also intertwined with space, so space and time are related, all the way up to the void, wherever that demiurge resides, likely in the Garden of Eden, and past Sophia, or the boundaries of Sophia, wherever she is, hopefully helping to manage this whole scenario, helping to pull us all out, or whatever, unify our spirits back with the true source in some way, potentially. So that would be past the astrals, in my opinion, past the soul planes, because we see that each plane is tied to a body, right? The physical and the etheric are intertwined and residing in the physical plane. They're overlaid. And then on top of that is the astral body. Then we'd have the soul plane with the solar capsule, right? That likely contains our egoic part, our unnatural part, and the spirit. Some don't have that spirit. Some are just ego, mind, and body. Some are just soul. Some don't even have the soul capsule. Maybe, I'm not sure. But it goes kind of like spirit, soul, and then just lower mind, right? So past that soul plane, even, and past potentially all the other things I mentioned, but every plane seems to have a body attached to it, and the NDEers actually report a silver cord tied to the physical body when experiencing, an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience. And if that cord is snapped, their astral body has essentially detached from the physical body, and they die in the physical world, right? So that makes sense. In order to fully leave this place, we have to leave everything behind, especially our bodies. So it would make sense that when Christ ascended, his body dematerialized. It stopped being projected from his spirit essence, and all his other bodies collapsed along with it, because his spirit had exited, right? Had exited through the egg of this realm, right? And the serpent surrounding the egg, which is what is, not according to me, depicted in a lot of these mythologies, a lot of the cultures throughout the world. So in order to transcend the astral plane, you'd have to leave your astral body behind, you'd have to leave your soul capsule behind. Everything is just coverings, overlays onto the spirit, simulations within simulations, I think, right? If you're in a simulation, you'd have to figure out how to leave your digital body behind, right? Unplug. So, okay, I'm gonna end it here because I don't want to rant and this video is getting too long, and I hope that all made sense and tied in together for you guys. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.